back, the Miller Lite AVP Pro Beach Volleyball Tour 1993. And there is our site on the shore in Jersey, Seaside Heights. And it is a perfect day for volleyball, just about anything else. Semi-final action. Kirai, Kent Steffes going up against Christopher St. John, St. John Smith, and Dan Vrebalovich as St. John finds a new partner, as Paul said, for another week. Here's our weather, 81, beautiful day. It's baking down at the Shaw. Boy, look at that. You have to
the shore?
At
How
the
about
shore.
the sand? Homegrown. Glad to be back on the beach. Enough of parking lots and synthetic places. We're back on the beach, and that means the sand is a triple dipper. It's deep, 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 deep. Also hot. Very pretty sight, but bright white reflective sand, and don't burn yourself.
Got to get your springs out to play in this stuff here this afternoon. There is our court, and here are our referees. Greg Krause will be up.
Jeff Jordan down below, both officials with a lot of experience. And Billy, you were talking about the sand. Now we're out at sea. And, you know, when you come back east and we come to New Jersey, we'll be in Belmar later in the year, you're always concerned a little bit about thunderstorms and humidity and those sorts of things. But I'm telling you, the local Junior Chamber of Commerce should shoot a commercial today.
A little later on, we'll take a shot of the boardwalk, and it is full. Kirai, Stephus, Smith, Vrebalovich. As Kirai, Stephus look to make it 5 in a row and win their 9th tournament of the year. At this juncture last year, they had won 5 out of 11 tournaments. That's because Karch didn't play early on in the year because he was in Italy. So this year they're 8 out of 11. So actually they're ahead of last year's win pace. If you can understand what I just said, you've got a degree somewhere.
All right, here's very simplified. Last year they played in 21 tournaments together and they won 16. This year they're going to play in 24, 25 tournaments, including the King of the Beach, and could obviously win more than 16 together.
And here's Kent Steffes with the first hit of the game, and it's over Vrebalovich. And immediately a controversy. And Greg Krause said he saw the line move.
Shot down the line, and Greg Krause is saying, I saw the line move. Kim Pickering is on the line.
Now they're calling it out.
Let's listen, Billy.
1 serving 0.
The linesman has called the ball out and saying that the vibration of the ball hitting the sand moved the line and that the ball was out of bounds.
Let's go. I am. So Smith and Vrebalovich up 1-0 early. And St. John Smith back to serve. Very familiar face, as mentioned. You've seen him many, many times. Career open wins, 134. And he's going sky ball with his second serve. Steffes blocked Vrebalovich right back. It'll be Karch's turn. And Kirai and Stephus on the good side here to start things off.
Kirai and Stephus, as we have talked about over and over again, when they're playing at the top of their game, may be unbeatable. But Kent Steffus, there you see, 24 years of age now, will be 25 pretty soon. Told me, look, Paul, when I'm 25, even though I make about $500,000 a year, I'm 24, they won't let me rent a car. You have to be 25. I said, come on.
And the block results in a point as Karch gets the block up.
Please check time.
We saw a graphic about the sand here and had a little fun with it, but the surface here, the sand is so deep, it's really, really tough to play out here, to move. It's like thick, thick soup. And the teams with a better ball control are going to do better as the competition has gone on. And Vrebalovich and Smith are a perfect example of that. They control the ball well, they move well, they play good defense and scramble. Some confusion here with the clock, I think, Billy. Of course, we're playing a 9-minute game clock. 8 minutes,
it was a score. They
left.
did not give a score to Kirai Stephus, and now it is. And Stephus serves into the net. I think
more
that's a little
important
more
than the clock, exactly.
Absolutely. But if you're unfamiliar with Pro Beach Volleyball, there is a time clock, but it is the first one to 15. Got to win by 2. There's Dan Vrebalovich back in the spotlight, 6'2", 185. He's reached that magic age of 30. And you see his career wins, lacking with some of the other stars out there today, but still quite a talent. How do you think now early on, Paul, does this Smith-Vrebalovich duo team up? Strengths, weaknesses, as we take a look at Karch as he's going to serve it up.
Well, there's someone with no weaknesses, Karch Kirai. But speaking of Smith and Vrebalovich, strengths, certainly ball control. They know each other very well. Both hang out and play together down at State Beach. Weakness, neither of them are great blockers. Vrebalovich is only 6'3", but for his height, I think an underrated blocker, technically very, very solid. They will have good chemistry together. They'll side out extremely well. They'll have good ball control. And Vrebalovich has already shown that he can block Kent Stephus. That ball set a little tight. Now, I'm telling you, on a synthetic surface, in a parking lot where the sand is only a couple of inches deep and the ball is set tight, instead of out of this soupy sand we have here, this ball is set tight by Kirai. Now, Steffes normally would go right over the top of Dan Vrebalovich, but he's unable to get out of this sand. I'll bet he's jumping a couple 3 inches lower. Smith in the cross-court defense. And it's just harder for Steffes to put the ball away here. This was the problem that they had against Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh in the finals, or I should say in the semifinals earlier today. Steffes could not side out against big Mike Whitmarsh.
St. John's defense pays off. We're at 3-1 early on here in our semifinal with Dodd and Whitmarsh waiting if Whitmarsh is healthy. And real quickly, we don't want to talk it over too much, but we do have to make mention that Mike Whitmarsh was taken to the hospital for dehydration. He's had problems with cramping throughout really his career, and he went in and he should be back, but we're not sure. Steffes, St. John with the dig.
Great play, getting to it.
And just out.
Shot just wide.
And we will take the turn right here. 3-2, Smith Vrebalovich over Kirai and Stephus. Be right back to Jersey. Paul and I will be after this. And as Sam Lagana calls it, the World Tour of Pro Beach Volleyball, Summer Avenue Beach. Come on down. If you're at the Jersey Shore, there's miles and miles of what we out west call beach that they call out here shore. And I'll tell you what, it is packed and it is beautiful. And we are in semifinal action. Bill McDonald subbing for Big Cy here along with Paul Sunderland, and glad to be here on this beautiful day. And it's 3-2 as we take the turn. Smith Vrebalovich over Kirai and Stephus, and Kent Stephus will be back to serve. Now on the good side will be Smith and Vrebalovich, and of course that means they are serving into the wind.
Wind coming mostly off the Atlantic, and a decided advantage right now for Kirai and Stephus. Vrebalovich and Smith got 3 out of the 5 when they were on the good side.
Verb over the top, but Kent's right there. And nobody home as Stephus pounds it home.
Play in transition. Stephus getting the good jump early, and Vrebalovich loops the ball over the block of Kirai, but just too high and not deep enough or shallow enough. Stephus an easy point-scoring opportunity, which he converted.
You've been peeking on Kirai Stephus. How they've been playing this weekend compared to others? Is the machine well-oiled?
I don't think so this week. I watched their first match yesterday morning against one of the local qualifiers, and they stunk. I mean, they beat the qualifier.
That's selling it like it is.
Well, but they were just letting balls drop, and they were not into it mentally. They played better as the day went along. But in the semifinals, first match this morning against Dodd and Whitmarsh, they lose 12-11 in overtime, and Kent Stephus had some problems siding out. Since that time, they have been very good coming back through the contenders bracket. They beat Anginio and Loyola 15-2, and then they beat Johnson and Vanderway. Johnson and Vanderway continue to have a very solid summer. They finished 4th this week. But Kirai and Stephus a little more up and down this weekend.
Big pound by Kent cross court as St. John was covering behind Verb. And it's 3-3 still.
We've talked about how difficult, and I'm not exaggerating, this sand here is deep. Look at the soup that the players have to move through. That's just to make a move. That's a player who's just doing footwork.
Come on, Dan.
Danny Vrebalovich right back at him. Kent Stephus 4-3 now as Kirai Stephus take the lead. What sand in Southern California might be the deepest as we take a look at this replay that these guys might have played in?
Well, this is a lot like Hermosa, and the players practice there each and every week, and they get used to it. But we've gone out to so many stadium-style courts, like in Cleveland, another point-scoring opportunity here. Vrebalovich really having a hard time siding out. He's lost his aggressiveness, maybe his confidence just a little bit. It's a lot like Hermosa Beach, a little bit like Manhattan Beach, and some others. Belmar Beach here in New Jersey is also very deep, soupy sand, but we've played in Cleveland on a stage. We've played in Boulder, Colorado, in a park where the courts are just built off the ground, and I'm telling you, it is easy to jump and move. Not the case here in Seaside Heights.
We're going to take a look at the last point with our score standing at 5-3, Kirai and Stephus here in the semifinals.
Look, St. John Smith caught blocking Dan Vrebalovich out of his game right now. He has played so solidly, and St. John Smith talking to his partner right now has really kept him into the match, and there are 236,000 people at last count on that boardwalk. When it gets to 240,000, they close it down.
Just on that side of the boardwalk, too. Verb, can he side out here? Looking to go 6-3 on the bump set from Karch. Steffes! Wieners that time, and it's 6-3.
I'll tell you, Kent Steffes is finding his game just in time, because earlier in this tournament, I think he would admit that he has not played particularly well, but he's blocking well right now, and maybe it's taken him a little while to adjust to playing in this deep surface. Great timing here. This ball is set way off the net. Look at that, trying to get as high as he can out of this deep soup.
Once again, going to Vrebalovich. Singeing the set, and another chance to go 7-3 in a side change.
Verb can't side out.
Big time. And they just shut him out on that side. 5 in a row. Kirai and Stephus, and they are taking command here at 7-3 in our semi. Back in a moment. And Bill McDonald and Paul Sunderland welcome you back along Prime Network. There's our Southwest Airlines scoreboard, 7-3, Kirai and Stephus.
The free-hit that Brent Frohoff would teach us, certainly one of the sweetest deep dishes anywhere in the world of pro beach volleyball. And right, you have got to be able to pass and set the ball in windy conditions if you want to be successful at any level of outdoor volleyball.
Right here we have Kirai Stephus and St. John Smith and Dan Vrebalovich, who's been a cave all year and expected to see Stokos and Smith. That's long gone, a couple of months ago. And Smith has found Verb for this week, and they're down 3-7 and back to the sky ball for St. John.
St. John Smith serving the sky ball right down his line, and then the onshore breeze blows it all the way across to Kent Steffes.
St. John just got there as he was groveling through the sand and side out, and Kent Steffes will go back and serve.
You mentioned the split of St. John Smith and Randy Stokos. Not a bad streak. We talk about domination, and that certainly speaks of Kirai and Stephus, but Randy Stokos is now, of course, with Brian Lewis, if you haven't been following us of late. And the first week together in San Diego, they took second. The next week in Boulder, Colorado, they took third. But the last 2 weeks, last week in Cleveland, they were ninth. And this week here in Seaside Heights, they were seventh. So struggling and struggling a lot.
And there were rumors that St. John Smith was going to play with one of the Brazilian stars this week, but that did not come about.
Well, as soon as the other Brazilian heard about that, he said, hey, my shoulder feels a lot better. I better get back out onto the beach. And Tim Hovland better do the same. He's got the strained hamstring. I saw him this week in Los Angeles. He was really hurting. Loses Scott Akatubby. Akatubby goes with Steve Timmons, and they play very well together. So we'll see what happens with that trio, Timmons, Akatubby, and Hovland next week in Chicago.
I think we all miss Hov, don't you?
Oh, I miss him. I think Hov adds the, you know, when Hov's not here, it's just not the same.
It isn't. You need the presence, don't you? 7-3, Kirai Stephus.
And he'll remind us of that next week.
He'll be watching. St. John up top again. It's going to be handled this time by Karch Kirai. Over on 2. Good play by Stephus as he didn't want to take any chances, and it was the open court. Wide open Prairie in the back, and it'll be side out still at 7-3 with Dodd and Whitmarsh waiting in our final.
Well, at least we know it's Mike Dodd waiting. We're not sure if Mike Whitmarsh is back at the tournament site as yet. Of course, we'll try to spot him and get that information to you. But Mike was feeling poorly and went and got an intravenous condition, and who's feeling badly right now, or worse, gets a lucky break. Dan Vrebalovich. And Verb, if you can just tell by his body language, he's just not into it here.
He's gotten off his head.
Yeah, he's negative. He's gotten off to a bad start. This is a huge opportunity for Dan Vrebalovich. Kirai bump setting and sets the ball over, but look at Kirai just reading his own mistake, but then compounds it, doesn't control what turned out to be a very easy chance. But Verb has got to get into this match a little bit mentally. He has not won since 1990, that with Kent Steffes. Then he had a very serious knee injury, reconstructive surgery, struggled most of last year. It's a chance for Verb to win a tournament.
Played many years with John Hanley. Kirai will serve.
Anytime you're playing with Smith, you got a chance to win. So many tricks, so many shots, can side out.
There's nothing he hasn't seen, or a situation he has not seen. So he has felt the pressure throughout. There's a big hit that time, and Verb let loose a little bit that time with nobody up.
Yeah, and after St. John Smith set the ball a little extra gusto into the call, just exhorting Dan Vrebalovich to get up and bang the ball.
St. John once again with the win.
He's going to try to get this sky ball as deep as he can. That's not deep enough. That's midcourt.
And easily controlled by Karch.
Sorry, Billy. What St. John's trying to do is serve the ball in the back 5 feet of the court. And then it makes a very long pass from either Steffes or Kirai to the setter, whoever that may be. And then it's a long set. The sky ball only works well if you get it deep.
Working Verb. Tight, but nobody was there. Karch couldn't dig that one out. He was on his heels. So that time, a little fortunate there for Smith and Vrebalovich as that set was about to sail over.
Well, Kirai bails out right now, not realizing that that set is 50-50 right on top of the net. And Kirai and Stephus are what we call dropping or fake blocking on Vrebalovich right now, figuring that they will have good chance to dig it.
Low set dug easily. Here's a chance for St. John to get a point. Right back at him. Karch by the barrier. Stephus. Good rally.
St. John from the left. Look at that.
Got it. St. John, you talk about the shots, Paul Sunderland, and there's one. Just dig it out of the bag.
Just slicing and dicing. St. John Smith on his offside. Now, Karch conservative here, just keeping the ball in play. Trying to get it on Vrebalovich, but Smith is on the left. Now, watch Smith run straight. Now, look at what he does with his hand at the end. He had Stephus and Kirai both down the line side.
Right in the middle. Nice slap there by Karch Kirai, right past Dan Vrebalovich. And a side out goes to Kirai and Stephus.
I'd say Kirai and Stephus have adjusted to the depth of the surface here because they're bombing away right now against the block of Dan Vrebalovich. He needs to get a couple of stuffs.
Got a couple of guys out there with uniforms retired at UCLA. Karch Kirai, St. John Smith, who's setting right now for Dan Vrebalovich. Great dig. Great stuff. St. John, not quite. Point. And we are at 8-4.
What a fabulous get. Fully stretched by Karch Kirai. Look at this. Reading, covering. Stephus gives Kirai a good set, and then Karch really ran under it a little bit. I think then again, the depth of the sand, you're sinking down so far, it really, really affects your timing.
5.5 minutes remaining on the clock, which is, of course, not a factor at this point. And we're going to take a break right here ourselves, though, to do some business. Back with more in a minute. Chicago, 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 I think.
No doubt about it, but I think Tony Zapata ought to give the pregame talk to the Phoenix Suns. He's got it wired.
What's with the Will Purdue stuff?
And Bill Paxton. Is there a Bill Paxton in the NBA? I thought it was John.
And that's Vrebalovich and Smith as they try to get themselves motivated here and get back in this game. 11-4, they are down big time to Kirai and Stephus as we have taken the turn here at the boardwalk, Seaside Heights, New Jersey. Bill McDonald and Paul Sunderland bringing you the semifinal action. Karch on two.
Dueling knucklers.
Little cute volleyball there. That's going to go over. St. John says enough is enough, but Karch says, no, I'm going to keep looking at all
these oversets. A lot of ball handling mistakes. Tough chance for St. John. He had no approach.
But he gets it down anyway.
Doesn't matter.
And you're right, 2 oversets.
A lot of ball handling mistakes. Again, I know I'm saying this over and over again, but this is real soup to move in. And when you get to the ball late, it's not as easy a chance to go ahead and set the ball accurately. Now watch Smith. No approach whatsoever. He just looks at the defense and then slicing and dicing.
Off the block for a side out from Ken Steffes, who is still wearing the bandage over the scar on his cheek. 11-5. They're on top.
Now, I know Chris has mentioned several times that he got that playing paintball. It's not that he got hit playing paintball. He was running for his life because he didn't want to get shot and killed, so to speak, with the staining paint. Tripped and fell, and a branch got him up around the cheek and gave him a huge gash in there, and thus the Band-Aid.
Thus it's still there. I don't think he wants it scarring over in the sun. He's had it for over a month now.
Oh, yeah. Well, kid's plastic surgeon says he's got to wear that and keep it out of the sun for 6 months. 6 months.
6 months. Conservative plastic surgeon.
I don't think so. He's Michael Jackson's plastic surgeon. I'd say he's pretty aggressive.
Good. Oh, big time heat off of Steffes right into St. John Smith, and that's going to go back to Kirai and Stephus.
Karch survey.
Watch it.
Passing the ball well here. And we talked about setting the ball good distance from the net, and Stephus just unloading. Smith in the right spot. Sometime you have to take the punishment.
Nice pop, almost in the face. Chance for a point on 2. Herb right back. Interesting stuff. Good dig by St. John. Now he's got to go get it. This could be a pound by Karch. Yes, sir.
Players having to scramble, make the best of tough situations. Not as explosive as we're used to seeing them on prefab courts. But Kirai and Stephus getting it done with a commanding lead. And, Smith and Vrebalovich have not made much use of their timeouts. They haven't taken They've taken
12-5.
no timeouts. I remember them taking one sand early, possibly.
Well,
or was that Kirai? Now they take one. Now they take one, but they've waited long. They've waited too long.
And St. John knows how to milk those timeouts as good as anybody in the game. Going to take a break. Back with more. Don't move. Airline scoreboard shows Kirai Stephus on top by 7, and there's the time in the lower right-hand corner of our semifinal. Dodd and Whitmarsh, if Whitmarsh is able to go in our final. Vrebalovich. That was a good swing that time. Whitmarsh is back and in the players' tent is what we have just received word. So Mike obviously trying to get loose, relax a little bit. He's in the tent, and we'll just have to see how he goes. But that is the word we get.
Mike Whitmarsh really working hard physically to overcome those dehydration and cramping problems. He's gotten a dietitian. He's gotten a physical trainer to try to improve his fitness. But sometimes, you know, when players worry about something like that so much, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, instead of, you know, taking lots of fluids, and which I'm sure he is on a regular basis, or certainly should be, I think you worry so much about cramping or dehydration that sometimes it's going to get up and get you anyway.
Which is something we'll get into during that final. Here is Steffes with the serve. A bumper by St. John. That is a familiar sight. And once again, they are laying off, as you mentioned, on Vrebalovich. Why not?
Going to try to serve him tough. This old-style volleyball with no blocking. Years ago, nobody blocked.
Out till sunset.
That's right. Nobody blocked because you were not allowed to block over the net. That changed, of course, several years ago. And now blocking and jump serving have become such an important, if not dominant, part of the game. But Kirai and Stephus feel that with a 12-5 lead, 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, that they can just serve Vrebalovich and finish it out. Quite frankly, I disagree with this strategy. They've been coming through the losers. They had to serve Vrebalovich, play their normal style defense, block, and get it over with.
That's just a nice touch right over the top. And no chance for Karch to get there. And there is Mike Whitmarsh getting some treatment on those legs. Taken to the hospital because of the exhaustion, the dehydration. That was about an hour and a half or so ago. And he is back. And Mike Dodd healthy as ever. You want to talk about opposite ends. If Mike Whitmarsh has had problems during his past, during his career, Mike Dodd seems like he can go just about forever.
Well, Mike Dodd had 1 or 2 very difficult seasons when he had a shoulder knee problem and then a virus that really took the strength out of him. But
during the heyday,
other than that, he has always been there. Regardless if it was 95 degrees and humid, he, like St. John Smith, who in 15 years has never missed a tournament, like Tim Hovland, except for this week with the hamstring, and I think a smart decision to sit out hamstring, a very serious injury. But those guys just play and play and play.
Somebody, come on.
No chance. Once again, Verb was backpedaling and really playing out the string, as you mentioned right now, at 12-6. Kirai and Stephus eyeing the final right now as they have a comfortable lead over Smith and Vrebalovich. Pretty good showing, of course, for Smith and Vrebalovich, even if they do take the third here in their first week as a team together. We'll see if they crank it up again next week in Chicago.
That set was well off the net. Yeah, I think Smith and Vrebalovich will stay together. Third, a very good finish, and they had very good chances saved for this match. They played very well against Dodd Whitmarsh in the finals of the winner's bracket. Fell a little bit short.
And of course, Verb won that San Jose Open with Kent Steffes.
So memorable because Kent Steffes was
just
had been dumped by Karch Kirai a couple of weeks earlier for Brent Frohoff, and then Steffes goes up there with Vrebalovich, and they beat. I got to get the name straight. Frohoff and Kirai in the finals. It was great.
Payback time. Here is Verb's miss. Dropped the elbow a little bit, dropped the shoulder into the net.
Another chance to score, and there were a couple of point scoring opportunities early in this match when Kirai and Stephus were up 7-4, and the result was still in doubt that Smith and Vrebalovich missed a couple of chances. Kirai and Stephus
Good for the point.
having their way right now with Dan Vrebalovich.
Cruise control for the K&K tandem of Karch and Kent.
Timeout.
And a timeout is called by Smith and Vrebalovich, down 6-13 with 2.5 minutes remaining here in the semifinal, and we'll keep it right here. You want to talk about consistency? We showed you the money that was available in this tournament. How about the money that has already been doled out? Kirai and Stephus, quite naturally, the big paydays as they play together and win together.
But look at the differential between 1 and 2, and then you drop down to third position. Randy Stoklos, nearly $160,000. Mike Dodd, Brian Lewis make up the top 5. Here's the next group. St. John Smith all the way down in 10th position right now. Mike Whitmarsh, Brooke Vandewey, Luties, and Frohoff. But Kirai and Stephus have won both Cuervos, each putting, therefore, $100,000 into their pocket.
And Ocean City will be on our agenda as we take a look at the... Would you go on one of those rides?
No, I look at those rides and point my kids at them. I said, go ahead. I give them 20 bucks and say, go ahead. Take your mother. I used to love them, but they're not my cup of tea anymore.
Hey, Pam's here helping us out doing stats, and she was all over those rides last night. That's what we heard.
I just think I've been on too many Aeroflot plane trips around the Soviet Union, and these rides over here feel like their flights most of the time.
Just in too many places, period. 13-6, Kirai and Stephus over Smith Vrebalovich. I'm Bill McDonald. Is Chris Marlowe off doing something else this week? And, of course, Paul Sunderland here, as always.
Not me, nobody. Come on, no!
That's a tough one to get down, and Steffes just slaps it long. And that will be...
Play will take the turn. 13-7.
A turn.
Kirai and Stephus lead.
Kirai and Stephus still well in the lead. 13-7 over Smith and Vrebalovich.
It's the Miller Lite AVP Pro Beach Tour 93, and we're taking a look at a couple of the top teams and how did the other finishers do this week. Of course, a very competitive tournament. Johnson and Vandewey in 4th position. They played well and consistently again. Akatubby and Timmons, first time together this year anyway in 5th. The other 5th, and Gino and Loyola. They continue to have a very, very consistent season. Brian Lewis and Randy Stoklos really struggling down in 7th. They were 9th last week. Brent Frohoff and Ricky Luties, they have been very consistent, but down in 7th this week. Matt Sonicson and Troy Tanner, a new team this week, playing very, very well. Also in 9th, Al Jansen, Craig Mutart. They are always in the middle of the pack. They're going to get right up here into the semifinals once this week. And John Hanley and 20-year-old David Swadek in 9th position. Another solid, consistent finish. And John Brivich and Bill Sawara, their best finish together this year, also a 9th.
Right now, smooth sailing, either by air or by sea for Kirai and Stephus. They lead 13-7 as St. John Smith trying to get the crowd going in his favor over on the big bleacher directly across from us, and maybe it'll work. St. John up for the point, blocked by Stephus. Take that, St. John.
Another point scoring opportunity. Now it's not as important a consequence as earlier in this match. Smith and Vrebalovich had some chances early, and Kirai and Stephus shut the door.
I want to jump on something here after Kent serves. Going short this time. Ken Verb side out. Chance for Kent. Nah, into the net. And it'll be side out Smith and Vrebalovich. Stokey and Lewis. What do you think? Stay together? Do you see a breakup in the future for them as we take a look at a replay?
Kirai and Stephus have been playing good defense, and no doubt they're going to stay together. Randy Stoklos went to Brian Lewis to win tournaments. He didn't think, in his opinion, right or wrong, he didn't think he could win with St. John Smith anymore, even though they won this year in Fort Myers. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next couple of weeks. There you see what has happened to that duo since they got together in San Diego. Good off the bat, and then struggling since then. They lost to Akatubby and Timmons in the round before the quarterfinals, and then came back through the losers bracket. But I give it a couple more weeks. If they finish 7th and 9th or 5th, don't get into the finals, I think Randy Stoklos might think about making a change. You know, he played with St. John Smith for over a decade. Probably one of the most difficult decisions he ever made was to split with St. John Smith. But once you split once, I think it becomes easier the second or third time. And Stoklos is 32, and he wants to win more titles. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on that team. Lewis and Stoklos are capable of winning tournaments, but they've struggled the last couple of weeks.
We are set on our very first game point as we are right behind a second ago. Great shot from right behind Karts Kirai. And Smith and Vrebalovich somehow trying to dig themselves out of this hole. There's a great shot, as you'll be able to see this serve perfectly coming from Karts Kirai. 14-7 the football score. And Mike Whitmarsh appears ready to play. So it appears as though at least we will have a final beginning when that was in question just a little while ago.
Well, one of the luxuries, Bill, of winning the winner's bracket is that you get at least a 2-hour, sometimes a 3-hour break, which Mike Whitmarsh has had to go sit and rest, and in this case, get an IV treatment. I think he'll be okay.
Please tell the story of last week if our viewers weren't with us in Cleveland. A chance for Kirai to go take a rest when he was really feeling ill.
Well, Kirai had a stomach virus and threw up all night Saturday night. And I saw him in the players' tent after the semifinals, and they won. And Karch looked about as mad as I've ever seen him as he serves for the game here and serving hard at Dan Vrebalovich. And I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "Paul, I've been puking my guts out. The end of the game here, Dan Vrebalovich and St. John Smith not offering much resistance. Kirai and Stephus.
Well, they messed up our story.
Right,
a little more time.
They ended it too quickly. We'll finish up that one. Suffice it to say, Karch is feeling better today than last week.
Absolutely. That is it for our semifinal, and it was pretty much a walk by the shore for Kirai and Stephus. They will meet Dodd and Whitmarsh in our final. Much more to come. Stay with us.